I'd like to call the Tuesday, July 17, 2018 meeting of the City of Ann Arbor Parks Advisory Commission to order. It's shortly after 4 o'clock and we're here in council chambers at City Hall. Colin, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gallardi.
Here.
Commissioner Santa Croce.
Here.
Commissioner Morrison.
Here.
Commissioner Bordsdorf.
Here.
Commissioner Ramaswamy.
Here.
Commissioner London is not here today. Commissioner Apple. Commissioner Kraut, not here yet. Councilmember Grand and Councilmember Crable are here.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. You have before you the agenda. Is everybody good with it? Changes, additions? Hearing none. Moving on to item D, approval of the minutes. Attached to your packets are the minutes of the May 15, 2018 meeting. Changes, additions, if not, a motion.
So move. Approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Oops. That's the problem with my phone. I apologize. The, item E, public commentary, limited to 3 minutes. Is there a member of the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, moving on. Item F, special presentations. F1, the Cobblestone Farm Association annual update. Mr. George Taylor?
Yep.
Beautiful. Welcome, sir. Step up to the podium.
Thank you. You have in front of you our annual report for the year 2017. I do have a short presentation about what we've accomplished so far this year and some of our goals for this year and down the road. And our accomplishments so far are the weekly open houses with docents-led tours, host seasonal events with over 500 people attending. We had 119 people at our 4th of July service this year, which was quite remarkable for the heat. Tours of school groups. We just had a group this morning from Annie's West Side. We've had a collection of school groups. I had the Jewish Community Center. We had 37 kids from the Jewish Community Center between the ages of 3 and 5 for an afternoon's program. We support local scout programs. We have a Girl Scout troop that helps us out as volunteers. And we also have a Cub Scout troop that we support. I want to thank the city for the new office space that we have. It's led to some changes in the house, and which are all good. And the old office is going to become a reference center for people to come in and study the history of Cobblestone Farm and its relationship to the surrounding area in the city of Ann Arbor. We have internships with EMU, the master's program over there. We had a young lady with us from April to December of last year who wrote her master's thesis on deaccessioning items at Cobblestone Farm, and which was quite a feat on her part because her tome was about this thick when we got it from her. We also have the U of M program. We have an intern from the U of M Museums program with us right now, and she's doing our multimedia and marketing. We had a grant prepared. We prepared a grant, but we were denied that grant, so we've stripped it down a little bit and hope to continue with that particular program. And what the grant will do is provide walking tours and signage at Cobblestone Farm to explain the history and what you're looking at when you look at the farm. Tours for school groups. Well, we had one this morning, and one of the things that the kids do is laundry. We also go through the log cabin. We support our local scout groups, training for period activities and history, volunteers at events and service projects, and we chartered our own Cub Scout pack. One of the accomplishments for 2018 year was the rehab of the inside of the log cabin. That was a Eagle Scout project done by my grandson. I'm very proud of the young man. Part of the Eagle program is to pick a project and administer the project. Well, my grandson is a hands-on person, and it was kind of hard for him to step back and let somebody else do it. But he managed to pull his group of scouts together. They re-chinked the inside of the log cabin and then went in and re-whitewashed it. It was in pretty sad shape on the inside. This one is the Cub Scouts. They helped us do some decorating for our Christmas program last year. You see them, they're working on the Lincoln log cabin we have behind the log cabin. Support our Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts have gone on several tours of the house. We explained the house, what happened in the house, who lived in the house, what they did while they were there, and they're working on some displays for us, which will be up in the exhibit room probably by the end of the year. They've also had special sessions at the house. One group was in doing needlework, and the other kids were in the kitchen with chain and doing cooking. Like I say, we provide internships with EMU and the U of M Museums program. Cataloging items to be deaccessioned, digital archives, updates to our social media accounts. Follow us on Cobblestone Farm on Facebook, and we're also on Twitter and Instagram. Our goals for 2018 and 2019 are to recruit more volunteers, update our website and logo, we'd love to build a sheep shed behind the animal barn. One of the reasons for the sheep shed is to help us start establishing a walking tour of the back part of the property. And also the front part of the property with proper signage that will not get in the way of the venue, our wedding venue at the farm. So we're working closely with Parks on that. We've already started a period clothing exhibit, and there's more for that coming. We want to implement our Past Perfect software program, which might require computer upgrades, and establish an annual fundraising walk the 1824 farm property. And the farm property ran from Packard and Platt to Colony and a half a mile up. And the tour will start at the farm. We'll walk its way to Colony, up Colony to Independence, back south on Manchester to, I think it's Dartmouth or Dartmoor, and then all the way over Downtowner and pick up Cambridge and then go out to Packard, or go out to Platt Road and then come back down to Packard and all the way around. That was the property for the farm in 1824. So that will be a fundraiser for us. And we also support our market, which is going on this afternoon. So when I leave here, I'm going back to the market. We want to convert the woodshed. As you see the picture of the woodshed, it looks like a garbage dump. And it is right now. We want to make that an interpretive space. And part of the reason is that we like to build a sheep shed is that we want to get the market stuff that's in that woodshed out of that and put them in the sheep shed. I've got a couple of estimates on sheds that I think will pass HDC, but that's that's also in the works. Current use is storage, it's unsightly, and it's really not safe for visitors to go in. We have a two-wheel Studebaker gig. We have a sleigh that was built in Okemos, Michigan. We've gotten estimates on rehabilitation of both of those items, but the way the sheep shed is right now, or the way the wood shed is right now, it would do us no good to rehab the equipment and put it back into that space. One of the programs from the University of Michigan this fall will be someone coming in and developing a interpretive space for that site. I have a couple of folks who are related to the market, and they said, is there anything that we can do hands-on right now? And I said, yes, I have two projects. I have a cider press that needs to be rebuilt, and I have a little two-wheel cart. When Cobblestone Farm Association was started back in '74, this cart used to sit out on Packard Road as an open sign. It's falling apart, but these gentlemen are going to take it upon themselves to rehab both carts, and the cart and the wood and the cider press. As you can see the sleigh, and the carriage is right next to it. Those currently are in the woodshed, and they need to be interpreted. We also have a collection of wheels. We have a wagon that's disassembled, that's sitting behind all of that stuff. And like I say, we'd like to get it out so people can see it. The Studebaker is quite a feat because it does have a Studebaker tag on the back of it. And it wasn't built in South Bend, it was built in Chicago, by the way, in the factory in Chicago. I want to thank Parks greatly for your support of Cobblestone Farm Museum. And thank you very much. Anybody have any questions?
Thanks for coming.
If you have any questions, please give me a call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Colin's got my number, and Husk's got my number.
Thank you.
Moving on, item F2, the Give 365 and Adopt the Park program. Josh?
Just a second as I get through this. You take care of that. While I am moving this along, oops. If I get in some fun information. Hello, as always, good to see you guys. I have the opportunity today to introduce Give 365 and Erica Pratt. With a park system as large as ours, it's really great to have a program like Give to do some special things and to make some things happen that otherwise wouldn't. I would like to stand up here and say all the wonderful things that they do, but that's why she's here. So without further ado, Erica, welcome.
All right, thank you, Josh. I'm really happy to be here to provide an update and share some highlights. Some of you look pretty familiar. But I'm going to just kind of start with a reminder of the objective of the Volunteer and Outreach Program. Really, we're looking to engage our volunteers in ways that we can improve and enhance the park system. There are 159 parks, as you guys all know. NAP takes care of a lot of the natural areas, but it leaves around 110 parks for us to come up with projects and ways to engage folks in helping with those improvements or enhancements. When we talk about Give, I am the supervisor of the program, but I've got a team of awesome temporary and seasonal staff, 9 of them. And we've got over 8,000 volunteers in our database who have contributed in some way, shape, or form. When somebody gets involved with Give, it can be either for a specific event that they signed up for, or maybe they reached out looking for some sort of group opportunity. Regardless of the level of the commitment that folks have, there are many, many ways to contribute to the park system and make improvements. We generally kind of categorize them into 2 areas, and that's what you're looking at here, events and kind of maintenance. So When we're talking about special events, these are kind of fun, interactive events. Volunteers are interacting with the community. They might be face painting, running games, or parking for a large event. And I think you're familiar with some of these, Earth Day, Huron River Day. We kind of sit on a committee sometimes, and we're responsible for recruiting volunteers and helping facilitate that their experience and the event. We also have what we call the programming, where we partner with our own facility supervisors to run events like splash days or events at the farmer's market. We have a counselor and lifeguard and training program, which I'm going to highlight in a moment. Most of the growth that we've had at GIVE the last couple years is really kind of reflecting the expansion of these park work days. What you're looking at here, the different things that we can do in a park to beautify or maintain. Initially, we were kind of looking for more projects to do with the volume of groups that were reaching out wanting a one-time 2-hour workday. And we started getting out in the parks and seeing all the possibilities and needs that exist in our really vast park system that we have. Another avenue in which volunteers are really engaged and making substantial contributions is through Adopt a Park. It's kind of a sub-program of GIVE. Melissa, who's here today, is the coordinator of Adopt a Park, and she is building relationships with long-term adopters, neighbors. Sometimes it's businesses or organizations that are looking to get engaged, be a part of the community, and kind of do team building in a way. And I haven't talked about this before, so I wanted to throw a slide in. GIVE has our own kind of maintenance crew, a small crew. It's really members of our staff that are both leading volunteer work days, but they're also serving as supplemental maintenance to finish work that maybe wasn't completed, or they're just kind of small odd jobs that come up where we can act quickly and take care of something in the park, and really kind of supporting and supplementing our park operations maintenance staff. So we have a small crew doing these things. And really what I want to do in the next few minutes is kind of highlight some areas of recent things we've been up to. What you're looking at here is a business adopter from Elder Automotive. Melissa was working for the last year on this park trying to find an adopter. You could see the landscape was a little bit overgrown there, needed a little bit of care, and a group reached out. They wanted to do some community service as a group. They wanted to do some team building. Melissa led this group outing back in June. You can just see what that small effort, how it really can make a big difference. And they've already been out once, and they're coming back in the fall. So that's an example of how businesses can be involved. Playgrounds. There are 79 playgrounds in the park system, and maintaining them and keeping the weeds away without the use of herbicides is really just means that there's a lot of labor that goes in, that is involved in weeding and maintaining the wood chip levels. This is really an area where volunteers have made a huge impact. Last year we were out at 17 playgrounds, weeding and then spreading the wood chips on top. Really makes the park look much more cared for, and it's a lot of labor and work, but we've got so many groups that enjoy getting out there. I know if you look closely at Rose White Park, you're going to recognize Councilmember Gray Paul there on a very rainy day. I actually wanted to highlight one particular park. This was just a little over a week ago. You can see in the before picture really struggling with weeds. This is what can happen if there's not maintenance happening on a regular basis. This was the worst park that really needed attention, but it was a little challenging to get on the schedule, and accessibility is kind of tough. But we got it on the schedule. Our crew worked with the park operations staff to do they call it skimming, where you're kind of ripping up the top layers, laying new felt, and then Park Ops drops off many yards of the wood chips. Then our volunteers come, and those are just a side-by-side of the before and after. So again, it goes from looking not very cared for to, oh, this is beautiful, let's go to the park. Another project I wanted to highlight is a mural that's over at Argo near the livery. For many years, it was a pretty nice looking mural, kind of graffiti art, but it was getting tagged over, and there were some complaints that were coming through. We attempted an event in the fall where we called it Paint the Town, and we brought out our stencils, which we've been doing at some smaller projects. What we kind of found out was this wall was way too big for the stencils, and before we even finished it, it was getting hit with the tags, and over winter we were, oh man, we need an artist, we need a new approach to this. And one of our staff actually had a class with an artist who had done a mural in another town, and he designed the mural that is also, it's like a paint by number, so they project it onto the wall, and then we invited volunteers over a week's time to come on out and help us fill it in. So we had over 70 volunteers, put in 150 hours to bring this design to life, and during the course of that week, the people walking by and biking were really pretty excited about it. You know, it's pretty abstract, bold colors, and what you're seeing here is a quote from the artist who's really, you know, trying to capture the feeling of Argo and all the activity and energy. So if you haven't seen it, check that out. One other thing I wanted to highlight is the counselor in training and lifeguard in training. We've got 18 youth in the CIT program, and these are kids really making a difference in the camp program. They provide a lot of extra interaction that the camp kids get to have. These CITs are really focused on building relationships with the kids, having fun with them, kind of engaging kids, whereas the staff sometimes get caught up in the bigger picture and planning and all the rules. The CITs really are valuable. We get great feedback from the camp staff, and we've just got a great group of youth right now at all 3 of the campsites, and we also have the lifeguard in training. We've only got 2 this year, but again, they're really outstanding, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna be working for us in another year or 2. And one last thing I wanted to highlight is our river cleanups. This is both really popular and really important to keep the river free from debris. It seems like no matter how many river or pond trips we have kind of back to back, there's always you know, trash that's coming out. The volunteers, you know, really get on the banks of the river and get in there and find, you know, a lot of trash. So the end result is it's, you know, a clean experience for everybody else. And this is just our calendar. End of 2017, we come up with these numbers. Every year we've been growing in our kind of volunteer hours, the events we have. Another way we do our numbers is by fiscal year, and at the end of June we had a big celebration because we had a record-breaking year of hours, 8,382. You know, and really we're just really excited that we get to work in a community that wants to be engaged and wants to volunteer and be part of solutions and make improvements and really celebrate the park system, which everybody, you know, really loves. So any questions? Right.
I have a comment and a question. So I'm 11 years park adopter of Bromley Park, and I work with you, Erica, and your team. And I want to compliment, when we did our last cleanup, it was people in the community that came out to clean up, plus a volunteer group from I think a sorority came and helped us. So I really like that aspect of having community and local organizations come together to make an impact in our parks. So thank you for that, and we have another cleanup that we need to schedule. I do have a question. How do companies or people volunteer with your organization? How can they get interested?
How can they can call us, they can email us. We have a Google form online you can kind of fill out if it's the middle of the night and you want to do something. I think what's really great and unique about Give is that we do have the spectrum of short, one-time, 2-hour workdays, if it's just a team building or you know, just want to get out in the community and do some physical labor with a nice result. Some people really enjoy doing that. But we also have longer-term relationships, and that's where Melissa will kind of get involved if it's a group that wants to kind of be involved for the long term. And if they're not sure, we just get in touch with us and we'll start off and go from there. But we're always looking for new folks to be involved and to do new things.
And is there anything for National Public Lands Day?
Do we have anything? Not yet.
Good answer.
Other questions?
Anybody else?
Well, thank you for your work.
Thanks for
and
having
Thanks for coming.
Do I just pull this out?
Moving on, new business. Wow, that's a mouthful. Resolution to recommend placement on the November 2018 election ballot, renewal of the park maintenance and capital improvements millage, and to recommend City Council affirm the administrative millage policies to inform voters of the manner in which it intends to oversee the administration of the millage if the proposed renewal is approved, period. Colin?
Well, I would say that the title sums it up fairly well. Yeah,
Very
Title is-
succinctly.
It's everything.
so at the May meeting, I provided a presentation which really gave an overview on the millage and how important and impactful it is on the continued operation. So this is the resolution to send on to mayor and council from PAC recommending that the millage go forward as a renewal. What that means is that we would go back to the 1.1 mill rate, which is estimated in the first year to bring in revenue a little bit over $6 million. I think an important thing just to note is that the current cost to a homeowner with a mean taxable value of $126,000 is $136 a year. With the renewal, if it's successful, that amount would go to $139 a year. So there's a very tiny increase for the residents, which is important. We would continue to utilize the funding in the way that it is laid out in the administrative guidelines, which allocates a portion towards maintenance, 60 to 80%, and also a portion towards capital, which is the balance of that, the 20 to 40%. Over the life of, well, actually through 11 years, because we're almost through the second iteration of this millage, the expenses are 70% for maintenance and 30% for capital. So I think we can truly say that we have a pretty good idea as to what that proportion should be, and these administrative guidelines work very well for it. The resolution also asks City Council to reaffirm the administrative millage policy, which I spoke about at the presentation, but it sort of highlights areas where the millage funds can be used, or perhaps even more specifically where they cannot be used. There's an attachment within your packet that has the funding guidelines, the distribution guidelines, and the column that is millage, there are areas where we are not allowed to use the millage revenue. Those are for things that are so core, like mowing, like snow removal, like utilities, that we want to make sure that there's always a funding source available for them. The other items that are sort of in the administrative millage policy include the part that we refer to as the Parks Fairness Resolution, which in a nutshell says if other parts of the general fund in the city are subject to cuts, that parks cannot be cut at a rate greater than that. And on the flip side, it also says if there's a increase in the operating budget in the general fund for the rest of the city, that the Parks Department has to receive a proportionate share. So that's how this last fiscal year, you'll remember that we had about $110,000 that came to us that we were able to provide some additional funding for Community Action Network, for the outdoor ice rinks, those types of things. And this will go to City Council August 9th, and hopefully with approval will go onto the ballot in November.
Bob,
I move approval.
is there a second? Second. Is there discussion?
I just had one tiny picayune question on the chart that says which is capital, what you can use to
Yep.
pay for which. There's trimming is highlighted.
Yeah.
What was that about?
So that was an amendment a number of years back, but it says mowing and trimming. The trimming is highlighted, the mowing is not. That means that we cannot pay for mowing out of the millage. The trimming is more like line trimming around trees or things which are more,
I won't profess to understand why, but at least I understand what.
Yeah.
So thank you.
and that's the one.
Why?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. There is no commission proposed business, but there is a report from the Parks and Recreation.
Very short. I don't really have anything particular today, just that we're in the middle of summer, and it's been quite good so far. Been obviously very hot. The pools have been busy. We've been very happy with the conditions, especially at Fett's Pool, all of the improvements that were done out there. One of the big things was the clarity of the water was a concern last year, and that was what the filter is supposed to address. It has really done a nice job, and that's having to deal with about the heaviest loads that it would deal with, just from the hot temperatures, the amount of people there, the amount of sunscreen, et cetera. So we're extremely pleased how that is working. We're also doing very well with the camps, the day camps. The registrations for those are basically full across the board, and that is an exciting program to run, and staff are doing a really, really good job with it. I think that is everything I have right now.
Do we have a report from the Recreation Advisory Committee?
I don't think we have met since our last PAC meeting, but I will just note that the school districts decided to take Freeman School, which had been rented out, and take it back into school use and use it as an environmental education center. So they have a number of advisory groups going on right now looking at what that will mean.
Can I ask one thing?
Yes.
It occurs to me, Ruth, that perhaps it would be, we would be happy to come to a RAC meeting, staff, and provide kind of a background on the millage. I think that could be helpful understanding the relationship that Rec and Ed has with parks. I would certainly like to get that out there on
I
there.
will suggest that to Jenna.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be you or Josh, but yeah,
Or if you get really unlucky, it might be both of us.
that'd be great. I think the first meeting's in September.
Yep. Okay, super.
Item L, is there any member of the public who'd like to speak? Seeing none, transmittals are attached to your project. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody. We have a LAC meeting in council chambers.